Hi guys, today we're going to be talking about Unusual Billionaires written by Sir Saurabh Mukherjee. So, what is greatness? Greatness is defined by the author as the ability of a company to sustain superior financial performance over a long period of time. The author also suggests that an investor should be wary of the halo effect because it's akin to herd mentality in the stock market. The author also says that sustainable moats widen over times for great companies, especially during economic down cycles. The author uses two pillars, growth and profitability, to filter out companies to find if they are great or not. The first filter for non-financial companies is revenue growth of 10% per annum over the last decade. The second filter is return on capital employed of 15% or more per annum over the last 10 years. For financial companies, the first filter is loan book growth of 15% and return of equity preferred over return of assets by the author of 15% every year for 10 consecutive years. So now one might ask, what is the importance of ROC? Through backtesting, the author proves that high ROC companies outperform indices more reliably than just high growth companies. Companies that deliver both high growth as well as ROCE massively outperform their competitors. Next, using the filters, the author finds that there are 36 companies with revenue growth of over 10%, 102 companies with ROCE of over 15%, and only 18 companies that have both. Before the filters were added, the author also used another filter of market cap being only 100 crores or more, because the author says that companies that have market cap of under 100 crores do not publish reliable data all the time. So from these 18 companies, the author chooses seven first among equals, or the great companies. So, this was for the decade before the book was published. Using the same filters for the decade after the book was published, we get 3191 companies with market cap of over 100 crores, 802 companies with revenue growth of over 10%, 1368 companies with ROCE of over 15%, and 358 companies with both. However, I felt that because decade is a long time, we should adjust the market cap for depreciation. So, since the INR has depreciated around 37% against the dollar in the decade, we updated the market cap to 137 crores as minimum. And we find 2906 such companies. From these companies, we find only 408 companies that have revenue growth of over 15%. Here we are using revenue growth of over 15% like the author originally intended to, but was limited by the number of companies that were filtered. We don't have the same limitations. We find 1278 companies with ROCE over 15% and a whopping 170 companies with both. Now, I'll be talking about the triggers. For Asian Paints, the trigger was mainly an temporary import ban during the Second World War. For Burger Paints, it was when the LBO occurred and the European firm exited. For Marico, it was the demerger from Bombay Oil Industries as well as the economic liberalization. And last but not the least, the inside of selling coconut oil branded. For Page Industries, the trigger was economic liberalization as well, and also the insight to bring premium innovation to India. For both the banks, it was the banking deregulation and reform headed by the Narsimham Committee. For Astral Poly, it was the founders' insight who found that GI pipes were dominating the market while being obsolete to superior CPVC technology. The common triggers that we see across all the great companies are external disruption and patient execution. So next is going to be Akshat to continue.
Oh, thank you, Anand. Hello, my name is Akshat. Let me start with a simple question. Why do some companies remain leader for decades while others rise fast and then disappear? Is it luck, timing, or aggressive growth? The answer, as we will see today, is actually very boring but very powerful. It is focus, discipline, and long-term consistency. Let me explain this using a few successful Indian companies. First, Asian Paints. Asian Paint becomes a market leader by doing one thing extremely very well, staying focused on paints. While competitors chase different industries and trends, Asian Paints refused to lose focus. The founding family members protected the company's long term vision and invested heavily in supply chain strength and brand building. They adopted technology much earlier than others, which improved efficiency and planning. Even when the company expanded internationally and entered services, the aim was always to strengthen the paint business. The consistency helped Asian Paints stay ahead of the competition. Next is Berger Paints. Berger followed a very professional and disciplined approach. The promoter stayed low profile and allowed professional managers to run the company without any ego driven decisions. Berger stayed strictly within the paint industries, focused on practical innovations like tinting machines, which helped dealer manage inventory better. Along with strong branding, marketing, and distribution, this focus helped Berger grow steadily while many competitors lost direction. Now, let us look at Marico. Marico leadership openly believes in what they call boring consistency. Instead of chasing short term growth or flashy ideas, the company followed the same strategy year after year. It moved from being a commodity business to a brand led FMCG company by strengthening brands like Parachute and Saffola. Marico focused on understanding consumer and building strong system, which helped its to grow it steadily and predictably. Next is Page Industries, the company behind Jockey in India. Page Industries turned a simple product like innerwear into an aspirational life brand. Instead of competing on low prices, it focused on quality, comfort, and brand value. The company expanded distribution carefully and maintained consistent retail standards. The disciplined approach helped Page stand out in a fragmented and highly competitive market. Now comes Astral Poly. Astral Poly broke out of the unorganized pipe market by focusing on quality instead of price. It introduced CPVC pipes in India along with educated plumbers and dealers. They built strong trust in the ecosystem, have still stayed focused on its core category, expanded distribution, invested in manufacturing capacity, and built a national brand. Through disciplined decision and company moved from near failure to leadership. Next is Axis Bank. We will be talking about few companies from banking sector. Let us start with Axis Bank. Axis Bank followed a conservative and disciplined approach in a risky banking environment. Instead of chasing aggressive growth, it focused on strong system, professional management, technology investment, and careful lending. By consistently executing basic banking principles, Axis Bank built trust and achieved steady growth. Finally, HDFC. HDFC Bank succeeded by doing basic banking things better than anyone else. Its strategy was simple: lend safely, grow steadily, build a strong deposit base, and protect asset quality. While other banks chased fast growth and later faced crisis, HDFC Bank never changed its playbook, its long-term discipline, and because of this, its competitive advantage increased. The conclusion from the same. If we look at all these companies together, one message becomes very clear: great businesses are not built through excitement or shortcuts. They are built through focus, patience, and other simple things consistently well over a long period of time. Thank you. From here, my friend Hill will continue.
Thank you. Thank you, Akshat, for passing on the mic to me. Hello, everyone. Myself, Phil Parikh. So, from this, I will continue to explain this presentation further. When we look at the competitive advantage across the first among equal companies in the coffee can portfolio constructed by Sir Saurav Mukhreja, anyone can see a particular trend that competitive advantage is a structural and not temporary. For example, you can take Asian Paints. Despite continued ownership, the company is purely run by professionals. The combination of long-term ownership and professional execution creates a competitive advantage for Asian Paints. Marico Parachute is the another example. It didn't just win because of its branding. It win because it continuously improves its product quality, strengthen dealer incentives, ensure superior self-presence, and expand internationally with focused marketing. In banking sector, you can take HDFC Bank. HDFC Bank built their advantage by consistently discipline execution, low cost CASA deposit, superior asset quality, and smart use of technology inside strong processes. This resulted in the consistently higher margins and lower risk. Similarly, Axis Bank, they leverage trust, early digital adoption, and strong sources control to scale efficiently while maintaining the quality of assets. So overall, from this slide, anyone can learn that the company who wants to make competitive advantage for themselves, they need to start long-term thinking, mastering their basics, superior distribution, cost leadership, effective management, strategic focus, technology adoptance, identifying the best decision maker, and so on. So now we will come to the next slide to explain the concept of innovation. Anyone who can see across this company can easily say that innovation is practical, incremental, and process driven. For example, Berger Paints. Berger Paints modernized their production layout. They invest in IT and establish tinting machine at their dealer shop. This gave the customer more choice and more options to select. This rises their demand, and in this way, Berger Paint introduced their innovation by in by innovation in product, IT, and distribution. Page Industry. Page Industry introduced their innovation by launching their products faster than their competitors. They tailor design and fit according to Indian customer, and also they crack the labor management by applying employee friendly practices in and they scale smoothly in a labor intensive business. Finally, Estel Poly show their innovation by partnership. Instead of copying it, they partner with the global leaders like Lubrisol. They continuously introduce advanced CPVC products, use automation and robotics. They even train plumbers and even introduce barcodes to prevent counterfeiting. So now we come to the next slide to conclude our topic of innovation, that sustainable innovation is continuous, customer focused, process driven, and deeply integrated with the execution. Thank you everyone. So now I will pass this presentation to my friend Shaklin to explain it further.
Thank you, Hill. Hello, everyone. My name is Shaklin Goodell. This slide focuses on company's architecture, how a firm is structured to scale without relying on one individual. The first point is promoters must step aside. This means that the founder should hand over the daily running of the companies to professional managers. For example, Asian Paints did exactly this, which helped them grow steadily. The second is standardization. When the same process are followed across the organization, performance becomes consistent and easier to scale. HDFC Bank achieved this through standardized lending and risk system. The third point is management stability. Keep a strong, independent board and stable leadership like Asian Paints did to stay steady over the time. The fourth point is employee ownership. Give employees a stake like Page Industry with ESOPs, so they are more committed. The fifth point is risk discipline. Make risk control a design choice like Asian Paints did to keep things simple. The sixth point is ecosystem partners. Treat long-term partners like part of your setup. Astral did this with plumbers and distributors. Now moving to the next slide on strategic assets. Strategic assets are the unique strengths that gives the company a long-lasting competitive edge and are difficult for the competitors to copy it. The first point is distribution depth. Basically, having really deep and strong relationship with dealers make it super tough for new competitors to break in. Think of how Asian Paints has a strong dealer network that makes the others too hard act to follow. The second is access to low cost and stable funding, especially in banking. HDFC Bank's CASA base allows it to fund loans cheaply and to maintain the margins. The third is early global wins. Going internationally early can open up a bunch of new opportunities. Like Mariko did this in place of Bangladesh and it really paid off. And the infographic on my right side shows that how strategic assets compound over the time. In other words, as you build the things like technology, brand trust, and exclusive access, they all stick together and give you a long-term advantage, like how Astral and Page did by leveraging these assets. And with that, I will pass it over my next colleague.
Hello everyone. I would like to start talking about capital allocation with a simple question. What is capital allocation and why is it important? Capital allocation is the decision made by business where they decide what to do with the profit and the capital generated by the business through the year. And the decisions are simple yet difficult. Reinvest in core operation, diversify in the new line of business, acquire companies, put down debt, or return cash to shareholders. Capital is limited and it is important to use it wisely. Let's talk about 4 points talked in the book. First one is single-minded focus on companies. The other slide. First one is single-minded focus on companies' business and prudent capital allocation are core virtues that promoters who deliver long-term success possesses. This point talks about why mastering a first core business is very important and stabilizing cash flows should be the priority. Second point talks about sensibly allocating capital while studiously avoiding betting the balance sheet on expensive unrelated forests. This point talks about why is it important to make a sensible decision and quantifiable decision whether a project is feasible or not, for which ROC and WACC is compared. ROC should be always be greater than the cost of capital. Third point talks about when a promoter makes a high ROC that covers his business WACC and leaves an extra for his shareholder, it is good indication of that promoter investing his capital judicially. Just like I talked about in the last point, this point talks about the ROC and the WACC. Now let's move to next slide. Here we'll talk about the winners and what they did right. First company would be Asian Paints. The best practices of all the manufacturing plants were brought together. They created a rating system where they rated all their plants based on the different performance matrices to make them competitive and improve efficiency. Second, Page Industries. Page Industries, they carefully allocated their capital, which was very limited and which was 1 crore. And they had a simple yet rigid system where they used to measure every capex and every plant with the ROCE test. And ROCE of more than 20 was must before uh, spending in any project or giving a tick signal to any project. Third one was Astral Poly. About 83% of generated capital was reinvested in new plant in Himachal, Tamil Nadu, and expansion and acquisition. Fourth one was HDFC Bank. The single-minded focus on maximizing profitability goes back to HDFC Bank's origin. It started its operation as a corporate bank, but soon realized that profit margin to be earned from serving AAA rated blue chip corporate were modest at best. Although the asset yield may have been lower, we were able to cross sell products so that overall return were better. This was the words by HDFC top management. Now let's learn from some of the mistakes made by two of the companies. First one was Marico. Marico focused a lot on acquisition like Paras in India during FY13, which halved their ROCE from 41% to 17%. As a result, Marico has decided to go slow on acquisition over the last 2 years and instead give itself time to assimilate the existing acquisition. In June 2013, Apollo Tyre decided to buy US Copper Tires, which was nearly twice its size at its enterprise value of $2.5 billion. Moreover, the purchase consideration was to be entirely financed by foreign currency borrowing. Its attempted acquisition was aggressive and over-leveraged as it would have raised Apollo's consolidated debt to equity to 3.8. And sooner, Marico also decided to go slow on acquisition over the last 2 years and instead gave itself some time for existing acquisition. Now I would like to invite my friend Janil to talk further.
Hello, my name is Janil and I'll be speaking on the disruptive strategy. So, first the Asian Paints. Asian Paint prepares for disruption by moving beyond paint manufacturing into home-led services and products. It anticipates that rising labor costs will shift India towards DIY painting, and to protect its dealer market, Asian Paints invests in experience stores and color consultancy services to make painting professional and convenient. The It also acquired kitchen and bath fittings to strengthen home improvement space, ensuring that even if or DIY or large format retail takes over, Asian Paint controls service delivery and customer engagement rather than losing its relevance. The Berger disrupts traditional paint retailing by moving early into service-led painting experiences. Through express painting, it speeds up painting with advanced equipment, reducing time, mess, and labor dependence. This becomes important as labor costs rise and Indian consumers will shift towards more professional and convenience-focused services. Berger also shifts brand positioning by raising aspirational appeal user through celebrity-led messaging and improving supply chain technology to reduce delays. Its disruption strategy centers on transforming a product category into a service-plus product category to meet the future consumption behavior. The next is Page Industries. Page Industries disrupted India's innerwear market by refusing to participate in the discount-driven retail culture. Uh, it built an aspirational, premium, and a globally consistent brand experience in a segment long dominated by the low-end and commoditized players. By maintaining a strict no-discount policy rules, uh, refreshing designs every few months, and even making its own elastic to avoid supply chain breaks. Then the Marico disruption came from outsmarting giants like HCL. When HCL tried to crush Parachute with massive advertising spends and multiple challenger brands, Marico turned hyper-focused internally and turned the entire organization into a war mode to defend its leadership. Instead of being disrupted by a multinational corporation, Marico disrupted the competitive landscape with quick decision-making and ruthless prioritization of its crown jewels. Instead of following a technological strategy, it followed a cultural strategy, like bonding with employees and a long-term response system to outgrow and resist larger rivals. And lastly, the Astral pipes. Astral became the industry disruptor by bringing CPVC pipes to India, replacing the noisy leak-prone GI pipes. It created disruption through technological partnership with global leaders like Lubrizol, who consistently launched new technology pipes years before its competitors. Astral trained thousands of plumbers, turning an ignored workforce into brand ambassadors, uh, and accelerating adoption. Its aggressive advertising through TV ads, auto ads, and co-branding with movies made pipes a visible consumer preference. By combining innovation, training, automation, and branding, Ezra broke the belief that pipes were a commodity, disrupting the entire category. So now my friend Hriday will continue.
Hi everyone, I'm Radha. So before we talk about wealth creation, it is important to understand one simple truth. Big returns always come with big risks. In these next three slides, I will walk you through what Unusual Billionaires highlights. First, the hidden risks inside businesses. Second, the common mistakes made by management. And finally, the key lessons and strategic takeaways that separate ordinary companies with extraordinary wealth creators. First, growth is not equal to value creation. Markets often reward companies that show high growth in revenue or profits. But the book repeatedly highlights that growth by itself does not create value unless it earns more than the cost of capital. So, the real risk is mistaking size and growth for value creation. Second, input cost volatility. If businesses like paints and consumer goods, raw materials form a large part of cost. Volatility in crude prices or commodities can severely impact margins. Third, demand uncertainty. Businesses face behavioral risk. Consumers' preferences can change and demand may fluctuate if the product is not deeply embedded in daily consumption. The book highlights that companies which become part of consumer habits face lower demand uncertainty. Fourth, credit cycle sensitivity. Financial institutions are highly sensitive to economic cycles. During downturns, weak underwriting and aggressive lending gets exposed. Fifth, disruption risk. Disruption is itself is not the biggest risk. Recognizing disruption too late is the real risk. Companies that continuously track weak signals adapt gradually, while those ignore them face a sudden loss of relevance. Slide 2 highlights mistakes in the book. The first, ignoring cost of capital. Managements often chase growth metrics without evaluating whether returns justify the capital invested. Cheap or easily available capital does not justify poor investment decisions. Second, overconfidence in brand. Strong brands attract customers, but brands alone cannot sustain profitability if backend systems weaken. The book shows that without strong distribution and supply chain, brand power erodes over time. Third, aggressive expansion. Rapid expansion without adequate controls increases operational and financial risk. This is especially dangerous in banking and financial sectors. Poor capital allocation. The book repeatedly emphasizes that most value destruction happens after profits are earned. Reinvesting cash into low return or unrelated businesses reduces long term wealth creation. Fifth, founder dependency. While founders are important, excessive dependence on a single individual creates key man risk. Sixth, scaling without systems. When companies scale faster than their processes and systems, quality, culture, and execution suffer. This next slide takes us to lessons and strategic takeaways. First, risk is mostly self created. The book repeatedly shows that while external risks like economic cycles, commodity prices, or competition exist, they are usually not the primary reason for value destruction. Second, execution is the best risk mitigator. One of the strongest themes of the book is that superior execution reduces the impact of uncertainty. Third, capital allocation determines long-term outcomes. The book emphasizes that the real role of management is not just running operations but allocating capital wisely. Fourth, systems protect against human error. Individuals, even talented ones, are prone to biases and mistakes. Overall, the book teaches that wealth creation is not just about predicting markets, but about building businesses that consistently make good decisions over longer periods. Thank you.